next thing I want to think about is bread. Baking bread in the Aga is utterly wonderful. It is completely foolproof. I have given you a recipe for English muffins, but I haven't actually rolled them out and cut them to cook as muffins. I've taken the same mixture and I took the dough when I had kneaded the dough and I rolled it into balls. And instead of rolling it out and cutting it with a biscuit cutter, I rolled the dough into balls and I put it on a piece of baking glide in a Swiss roll tin, and they have grown together as they rose. This is really useful for picnics because you don't need a bread knife, because it's individual rolls that you pull off. It's like a giant communion wafer, you just pull off a roll. So to bake that, I'm going to bake it on the floor of the roasting oven. I always put bread on the floor of the roasting oven, because if you put bread onto the floor of the roasting oven, you get a lovely crunchy crust underneath. Same as if I was doing a tart or a pizza on the floor of the oven. Anything you want to have a crunchy base, do it on the floor of the oven. And I've also got a normal loaf of bread, which I've baked in a square cake tin, because you can't buy square bread. So everybody knows it's homemade. And when it rose, I prodded it a bit in the corner, so it's not perfectly evenly risen, because you can't buy slightly sunken in the corner bread. So it screams homemade. Paul Hollywood, as I say, would freak if he saw what I did to a loaf of bread. But I don't want my loaf of bread to be perfectly evenly risen, just in case you think I bought it. I would never bake a loaf of bread in a loaf tin. I have a loaf tin and I make cheesecakes in it. Because you can't buy rectangular cheesecakes. It's all about making it look as if you've made it homemade. So make a loaf of bread in a square cake tin, everybody knows you do it. So it goes on the floor of the oven. Because it went on the floor of the oven in its cake tin, it's got that lovely crispy base. So that's bread. And actually I've given you a proper recipe for bread, but since we are just ourselves in here, there's a packet of cakes. And you can make hot cross buns out of a packet of bread mix, you can make bara brith out of a packet of bread mix, you can make Cornish saffron loaf, you can make English muffins. Any bread recipe you can always cheat and use a packet of bread mix. And then you put stuff in it. Into the square bread I put some seeds. In my little tub of seeds, every week I buy a new packet of seeds. And so I've got linseeds, golden linseeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, poppy seeds, whatever seeds you've got, put them in and just shake, and every loaf you make is different. You can put any of those jars of pasta sauce into a loaf of bread. Pesto bread is absolutely wonderful with tomato salad or tomato soup. You can't buy pesto bread. Don't make sun-dried tomato bread because you can buy it. But anything that you haven't seen any of those jars of pasta sauce that are sort of going a bit hairy in the fridge door, just chuck them into a bread mix. Olives. Lavender and raisin is a wonderful combination of bread. Put things in bread, then it doesn't matter that it's a packet of bread mix. And the great thing about a packet of bread mix is it only rises once. Whereas if you're doing proper bread, it rises, you knock it back, you knead it a second time, you then shape it, improve it and rise again, which means you've got to get out of bed an hour earlier than if you're using a packet of bread mix. So it's quite useful. It is cheating, but it's quite useful.